Hello Internet and welcome to this quick video on sketching a quadratic, perfect for GCSE Maths. Let's start by taking a look at this question here, asking us to sketch the graph of x squared plus 12x minus 5. Now, the word sketch is very important here, as it means we don't have to worry about being too specific with where we place the graph, and we don't have to worry about numerical values on our axes. All we have to do is label certain points and make sure that our graph is in the correct quadrant. Now, the first point we have to label is the turning point, which we find by completing the square. I have a video going into detail about finding the turning point from a completed square up on my channel already. I've completed the square for you for this example here, which is x plus 6 squared minus 41, and taking the negative of within the bracket and the positive of outside the bracket, we can label our turning point, which is that point where the graph turns, funnily enough, at minus 6 minus 41. This turning point will also help us to determine exactly which quadrant our graph is going to go in. As you can see here, both of the numbers are negative, so we can take an estimate as to where on these axes minus 6 minus 41 will be and plot a point there, then draw the quadratic from that. The next thing we are going to do is our y-intercept, and our y-intercept is simply the number in your quadratic equation that isn't a coefficient of an x value, so in this case it is minus 5. And we can label this where our graph here intercepts y. I should mention that all quadratic graphs have the same shape of a U-shaped parabola, which just looks like a U. And then finally, we can solve the quadratic to find our x-intercepts. Some will have 2, some will have 1, some won't have any. And I'm going to use the quadratic formula here to solve this quadratic equation. However, there are many ways you can go about this. It's up to you which one you choose. Again, I have videos about this up on my channel. And from the quadratic equation here, we can say that x equals minus 12.4 and x equals 0.4. So logically, we're going to label the minus 12.4 in the negative part of our graph over here, and the y-axis at the x-intercept is always going to be 0, and then over at our positive side, we're going to have 0.40 for our other x-intercept. Here is another example. Now, I've already sketched the graph out, however, it is your job now to label it. If you wish, you can do this by yourself, otherwise just follow along with me. So, once again, we're going to complete the square and find our turning point. You'll notice in this question that the coefficient of x squared isn't 1. Again, I have a video on completing the square when a isn't 1 and then finding the turning point from this up on my channel already if you'd like more detail about that. So in this case, I've completed the square, so we have 4x plus 3 over 2 squared minus 14. We're going to take the negative of that 3 over 2 and leave minus 14 as it is to label that turning point there as minus 3 over 2 minus 14. Once again, both of those values are negative, so we're going to be in that bottom left quadrant, as that is where, if you visualize the numbers being both the x-axis and the y-axis, will be negative. Next up, we're going to use our y-intercept, which is also minus 5 on this one as well, so we can label 0 minus 5. And finally, we can solve our quadratic to find our x-intercepts. Once again, I'm going to use the quadratic formula as this is the way I find easiest. However, you can do it whichever way you like. There are multiple methods and I have them all up on my channel. So, our two answers for x are x equals minus 3.4 and x equals 0.4. And we can simply label these. Obviously, we're going to keep our negative on the left as that's on the negative side, and our positive on the right as that's over at our positive side.